Achenberg. The date is February 26, 2016. The Civil War was the bloodiest in our nation's history. According to the Civil War Facts, a website sponsored by Civil War Trust, about 620,000 soldiers died from combat, disease, accident, and starvation. All other U.S. wars combined barely exceeds this number. This chart is a bar graph, shows how many casualties there were in the Civil War compared to 10 other American wars. As you can see, the Civil War line is the longest. Because I'm somewhat of a history buff, I hope to explain why the Union is able to defeat the Confederates, even though they had a cause so near and dear to their hearts. So I thought some of you Yankees might be so interested to know how your ancestors were able to defeat the Confederates. The Union Army was more likely to win the Civil War because they were better supplied and they had a larger army. They had a strategic battle plan that paralyzed the Confederacy. Today I will show you how the wealth of supplies, population, and strategic battle planning combined to help the Union Army bring down the young Confederacy. The first reason the Union was able to defeat the Confederacy is because the Union was better supplied than the Confederate Army. The North was very industrial. Its many factories helped to supply Union soldiers with the many items that they needed for war. In addition to its numerous factories, the North was also very agricultural. The many farms helped to supply the Union with food. In addition, the North had miles of railroads that helped to transport these supplies to where they were needed. The South, on the other hand, was mainly agricultural. They didn't have all the factories that the North did, and therefore couldn't produce as many supplies. The crops grown in the South weren't always edible either. Cash crops like cotton, tobacco, and indigo were grown to be sold. The farming of these crops required the work of many slaves, which was one of the main causes of the Civil War. The second reason the Union was able to defeat the Confederacy has to do with population. The Union had 20 states. The Confederacy was made up of only 11 states. According to Alan Farmer and Why Was Confederacy Defeated, there was a population of 22 million people in the North. James McPherson, the author of Why Was Confederacy Lost, adds that 190,000 slaves came to join the fight with the Union as the war raged on. The population of the agricultural South was 5.5 million. So the North had roughly 4 times the population, the people, that the South had. This meant that the Union had many more soldiers to choose from if they needed more volunteers. The final reason for the success of the Union had to do with strategic planning by its leaders. The Confederacy was severely weakened because they weren't able to get supplies through its soldiers. William T. Sherman and his 60,000 troops marched through the South, burning homes and crops. More importantly, they ruined the railroads. This disabled transport by land of needed supplies by the Confederacy. By sea, Union ships blocked southern ports, which prohibited supplies from entering. This clever Union plan of blocking movement of needed supplies by both land and sea paralyzed the Confederacy. According to James McPherson, many soldiers became miserable because of the lack of supplies, and they were tempted by thoughts of home. These worn-out Confederates deserted the cause and returned home. As one can see, the North was much better equipped for the demands of war. Their sheer numbers, full of supplies, and their strategic planning brought them victory. Though it was one of our country's most difficult wars, it was one that needed to be fought so that our nation could be reunited. 155 years after its beginning, our country is still healing from wounds it received during the Civil War.